Order for September 15th. And we're recording it. So please stand, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. In attendance tonight, we have Director Veach, Director Green, Director Carey, and Director Panegas. Also with us, we have our Superintendent, Dr. Middleton. He is at home. He is feeling ill, so he's joining us remotely from home. He does have, yeah, there he is. He's down there. So he's with us. All right, let's go to item 2, recognition and communication, board comments. We'll start from the bottom up my screen. So Dr. Panegas, did you want to unmute and do you have any board comments? Can you hear me? And Melanie, you want to go check on Dr. Panegas for me real quick? And then how about Director Green? You're next on my screen.
I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Carey?
No comments at this time.
Okay. Director Veach?
Am I the one that's going to have comments today? Okay, sure. So I wanted to, there's a couple of things. Oh, there's Dr. Panegas. Do we want to have him go first since you called on him already?
You've already started. Go for it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on things and I've been thinking about this, and I'll be honest, my thoughts are more off the top of my head than prepared comments. But I'm thinking about the way that we're approaching the students in quarantine this year. And I've seen that there are packets, and I thought that can't be right, because to me, packets are a backslide. Packets are 18 months ago, and teachers need 2 days to prepare packets. And then you have full-time people making packets and people distributing packets. And you have students at home for 14 days not having the same education that their peers are having in the classroom. We accepted a substantial donation from Foundry 10, who graciously gave us a 5-digit donation to purchase hotspots for all of our students in the district to ensure that they were connected during the quarantine time. And we have Chromebooks for all of these students, right? I don't understand, and maybe somebody else can help me understand, but why can we not open a Chromebook or a laptop in a teacher's classroom that has students? I'm not talking about virtual academy. I'm talking about kids that are in quarantine. Open the laptop, point it toward the board or the PowerPoint presentation or whatever, hook it up, and let the student that's in quarantine hear the teacher's lecture for that day. I think about the high school kids and the middle school kids who have 6 different teachers that they're missing lectures for 2 solid weeks if they're in quarantine. There's nothing in that packet that's going to replace hearing those lectures for 2 weeks, right? These kids are way behind when they come back like that. So I just think that instead of teachers spending effort and time creating separate sets of packets and separate sets of work, right? If you have the laptop open, the students online on a private Zoom link, they can hear the same lecture, they can hear the questions that their peers are asking, they can hear the teacher's answers, they can raise their hand using Zoom, and the teacher can answer their questions. So and I'm talking about kids that are in quarantine, that are not symptomatic, or that are feeling well enough to participate in school. Obviously, kids that are not, under the weather, legitimately sick, there's no expectation, but then it's not an additional work on the teachers. They're not trying to gather an entire separate set of work to give to kids that, let's be honest, how many of those packets got turned back in completed? right? It feels like we've set ourselves up for backslide. I know that Superintendent Reichel just recently talked about, in the most recent call, he talked about how schools need to provide the, that he admitted, I'm looking at the notes here, that, the start of the school year has been hectic, but that schools need to continue to offer quality education regardless of the platform. And we need to do that. We need to stop with the packets and use the hotspots and the Chromebooks and the technology that we've been given. It's not 1987. And I think we take a burden off of our teachers and our staff by not making them run off and develop secondary packets, right? And we take a burden off of students because they don't come back to school 2 full weeks behind. I know that, I don't know, I know that there's been conversations about transitioning away from packets, but I'd like to immediately transition away from packets. I really question the value. There may be value at the K1, 2 level, but for the kids that are middle school and high school, I just really question the value there. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Dr. Panegas.
Okay, thank you. I'm in good shape now. My comment was more of a positive because I'm trying to look at the positive. I went to the game last week. Almost all the board were there, and I really I've thought about it since, and I got a little melancholy. It really hit me about how important those things are. And I know that it was delayed because the other team couldn't get here on time, but even that, it was not a problem. The band, the young director who's been here a while, is fantastic. And everybody talking and, looking at buying stuff under on the ground level. I think made me realize how much we missed with having that kind of thing. And I know that's not the academic part of it, but having 2 wins in a row, I mean, those things are fun. And I guess the way everybody worked it out with the team getting back over to Friday Harbor and making that work, cooperation. So I just felt, I'm really glad I was there. And I think for the most part, I guess there were a couple of problems afterwards, but there were so many good things, having kids together and doing that. I have more detail about the sports itself on the WIAA report later on, but I had a good feeling about it. And I know things are up in the air in the future. I would hate to lose that. Thank you.
All right, that leaves me a couple of things, kind of to go off what Dr. Panegas was talking about the football game. I wanted to just do a shout out for our community. I know Director Veach was leading the way on this and several other people, but when it became a possibility where we might have to put up the other team for the night, the community response of I got blankets, I'll feed them breakfast was just, I mean, just all those things was amazing. It just shows what being Granite really is, where, we make sure to take care of people. So I think that's really a great example of our community. And the other one also is about the community. I wanted to just publicly say that I love the input that we've been getting, bringing forth ideas and suggestions and even complaints, because, the hard part of being on the board is we don't know what we don't know. So when you bring forth new ideas and different, questions, it gets us thinking and makes us better. So I really appreciate all the stuff that I've been getting in the email. Makes me, question and make sure we're doing things the best that we can. So really wanted to just publicly say, I actually really appreciate that. I love this level of involvement from the community. Hope we can keep it up and keep it going as long as possible, because it makes us all better at our job. So that's all I had. Move to item 3, district reports. Teaching and learning. Dr. Mans, are you ready to go?
I am, thank you.
All right.
I'm going to just share my screen here. good evening. I have some updates from the teaching and learning work, and really I'm doing sort of a high level overview. And as you're listening, please let me know later if you'd like more in-depth. There's lots of information behind each of these points, and I'd be happy to go into that as I present more regularly this year. This report is structured around the strategic plan, and the board has led the work in the strategic plan, and it's owned by our staff, our families, our community. And really, this is our vision. And I think it's so important to come back to this time and time again, to remember where it is that we're heading, to look ahead to the future for our students, and to create the best possible pathway forward for them. This graphic is the work that we're using in teaching and learning to help us conceptualize where the pieces fit. And without labeling each of the parts out loud, we see student success in the center, and then we have the work around that, the standards, instruction, assessment, technology, and then moving on. And obviously all of our work is around family and community, and within family and community, and in partnership with family and community. The elements of the strategic plan are on each of these slides. I've just highlighted the 3 first goals. Certainly teaching and learning links closely with the other goals as well, but for this evening, we're just going to link in and look at some of the highlights. So for powerful teaching and learning, I listed some of the professional learning that we've engaged in recently. And so we've had some work around foundational literacy for elementary. There's been some work around what do the standards really mean and learning progression, a deep dive into science, continuing to return to our instructional model. And then universal design for learning was introduced to all of our teachers. Some had worked with this in the past through university program or in our district, but as a district team, we worked together at the School of Rock to really look at how we plan with essential standards in a way that ensures equity and access for every student. And it's linked very, very tightly with brain research. And so how does a brain best learn? And how do we make sure our lessons attend? And then we're preparing for some learning walks, and then also for screening our new English learners. We have quite a few new students in our district, so there's learning around that as well. And then the second piece of our first goal in the strategic plan, we're looking at the hiring and retention of staff. And to share with you, we moved to a 4-day orientation this year, 2 at the district level and 2 at the schools, and principals all led an orientation specific to their schools. We are currently mentoring 21 new teachers. And that means Jinju Gray, who is leading that work, is meeting for 1 to 2 hours with each teacher just around coaching. She's in the classroom modeling lessons. She's also providing feedback. She's moving with them into other classrooms to see best practice. And then she designs ongoing professional learning for them. And at another meeting, I'll share a little bit more with you around our partnership with Western Washington University as we become a laboratory district for them to bring in their best students and ensure that we're able to influence the teacher preparation program. So to work hand in hand as we develop strong candidates for the future pipeline. The third component of the strategic plan in teaching and learning looks at empowering parents by encouraging participation. And just to share with you, we've been, over the past months, have been creating videos for families to support technology use. Adam Gesseman has been taking the lead in that work. Jinju Gray has been a part of it, and as Dan Schollard as well. And then we have a number of teachers around the district who've been supporting that. We've worked with Canvas, introducing Clever sign-ins, Go Guardian, iReady, and we're always open for new ideas. So we want to hear from our families what would help them the most so we can create those just-in-time short videos that they can access through our website. I wanted to share with you, spend a little bit of time with you talking about the standards in health and physical education. We had some new legislation that emerged last year, Senate Bill 5395, and it's around sexual health education. And so over this past year, each of our principals conducted a forum at their schools looking at a number of topics, but one of the key ones was the new legislation. And so families were invited in, the teachers who work with those programs were present, and the district nurse as well. And those were very well received. I have a transcript of the great conversation and questions that were answered. And just because this could be, there might be questions about this, we also created a brochure with information. And I was looking forward to introducing to you our new district nurse, and she's going to join us at another meeting. But for right now, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment because I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking through the brochure that we created and which is available on our website. So let me just pull that up. What we wanted to do is put the information in a place that might be easily accessible by families. And again, we're always looking for feedback. If this doesn't meet the needs, let us know. We can create something else, and we're always happy to meet in person or by Zoom as well. But this really looks at the sexual health education in the new Senate bill. The good news is that Granite Falls School District had received some grant funding in the past and already is in compliance with everything that the new law would require. Materials are already approved by the school board. And so really there are no changes, but it's just important to communicate that with everyone. In kindergarten, so I'm going to take just a little bit of time sharing what our nurse would ordinarily share, and then she'd be happy to come back at another time to answer questions. But in kindergarten through grade 3, we do not teach any sexual health content or curriculum. We do work with social emotional learning, and that's described here about managing emotions, setting goals, establishing relationships, and really making responsible decisions. And we have a curriculum called Second Step. In grades 4 through 5, we begin to use the Flash curriculum, which has been approved by the school board in the past. And there are no supplemental materials used in any of the courses. But we're looking at family, self-esteem, friendship, decision-making, personal hygiene, avoiding sexual exploitation, puberty, parts of the reproduction system, and then there is some specific HIV/AIDS. And this information is always medically based, which is why the nurse would typically present. And then in grades 6 through 8, again, we use the Flash curriculum, and it's based on current research. And then the topics include the ones that are listed here: anatomy, reproduction and pregnancy, puberty and development, self-identity, abstinence and other pregnancy and STD prevention, healthy relationships, influences on healthy relationships, affirmative consent, and bystander training. And then when we move to grades 9 through 12, again, we're looking at the Flash curriculum and no other supplementing materials. And you can see that topics that are listed here: healthy and mindful choices, interpersonal and interpersonal communication skills, influences on healthy relationships, healthcare and prevention resources, abstinence and birth control, HIV/AIDS, affirmative consent, and bystander training. And then we also do the annual HIV/AIDS education. And then we included this part about rights of parents and guardians. We communicate frequently with the families, which is why we had the family forums last year. But we really want to make sure that parents and guardians know that they can opt their child out of any or all instruction. And that, as being a former principal, I know how that's handled in the schools. It's done very, just in a way that's very supportive of the child and the family's wishes. And the school districts, the schools, actually notify the families if we're doing any type of adoption. So if we were looking ahead to doing that, we would let you know so that you could be involved. And speaking now, of course, to the public, but of course to the school board as well. And then we notify the parents and guardians at the beginning of the year on the timeline for the sexual health education, and then the materials are available. In fact, I was talking to our district nurse this morning in preparation for tonight, and one of our previous nurses was here on a visit, and we were discussing how they make multiple copies of binders so that those are available at the schools, and then we can certainly get things to the families in other ways, knowing that we're in COVID time right now. And then just a a brief overview on the Senate bill, which is what we presented to families last year, but that really looks at recurring instruction in human development and reproduction. And it needs to be medically and scientifically accurate, age appropriate, and appropriate for all students. And it's instruction over specific topics over time and not just embedded into another learning standard or lesson. And then starting this past year, we needed to make sure that our materials were in alignment. And then this year, we need to provide comprehensive sexual health education at least twice between grades 6 and 8 and 9 through 12. And then we do the affirmative consent bystander training. And that is something that we were already doing. So it's just continuing as we have been in the past. And then next year, we need to make sure that we have social emotional learning for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. And we've been doing that for years, just because kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade are it's that time when you really learn to be at school and you have big feelings, and how do you manage those big feelings, and how do you get along with others? And again, there is no sexual health content. And then we begin with instruction in grades 4 through 5 in the year after this one, which we're already doing. And then contact information, as always, the best thing to do is go to your school, asking families to just check in with the school. The principal and the teachers are right there. They have the resources, can show them to you. Our district nurse is very happy to meet with families on questions. We've done that in the past. We set up one-to-one meetings or whatever type of communication that's best. And of course, I'm always happy to hear from families as well. So I'm going to stop sharing here and go back to the PowerPoint. And let's see. Just want to make sure there we go. And then again, going back to the strategic plan, which really guides everything that we do, we are working on creating pathways via partnerships, mentoring, and district resources. At the last meeting, our CT director, Kevin Davis, provided the first presentation to the school board around CTE, and he looks forward to coming back and sharing progress and additional goal setting. And then I also wanted to let you know that the secondary team and I met earlier as we transitioned in new administrators and reviewed again the high school and beyond plan, which starts in middle school, and really made a team commitment. And that is the work that we do with the students in a variety of ways to help open the doors to them for opportunities, things that they might not have considered, and look at skills and interests. And that's a living document that grows with time as the students learn more, and it's accessible to families as well. And we certainly want to be partners with families as we're creating those plans with the students. And then finally, the powerful teaching and learning is a big part of our strategic plan. So we have multiple points here. The final piece is the embracing technology as an engine. And I mentioned the orientation earlier for the new staff, and that orientation included technology. So they all received their new devices, they were able to log in, practice navigating, and then they received instruction on our platforms, and will continue to get that support. We're fortunate to have a technology TOSA half-time who is working one-on-one with teachers and also is creating the schedule to go around 2 schools. And the TOSAs are helpful to the principals and to all of us at district office as we really identify the needs and then hone in on giving the specific support. As I mentioned instructional design before, as we work on creating units, it's always looking at how do we leverage technology for that work. And then we have been growing, as you know, and acquisition of Chromebooks and teacher devices has been keeping us busy. And I made a slight change, board members. I changed the wording on here. I had said the same thing in 2 different ways. And what I really meant to say is we're using levy funding. And then our technology supervisor, Dan Scollard, and I have just been busy writing every grant that we can find that provides more money, just to ensure that we have up-to-date resources for our students and our teachers. The second component of the strategic plan is school climate. And I won't go into detail on this today, but just to let you know that we are, as mandated by the state, providing professional learning around the social emotional standards, really to ensure the students' well-being, and again, in partnership with our families. And then the third point in our strategic plan is early learning. And there's been a lot of work going on here. We have received a grant that's been continued for this year to look at readiness for school, with the dream of, partnering with all families from the very earliest ages and all of our community organizations to help students to be so ready. So when they walk into kindergarten, we can actually start with kindergarten learning or beyond. We completed a comprehensive needs assessment around early learning, and that has opened up recommendations to us, and our early learning community team is moving on to next steps. I co-chair that with Jana Minix, the librarian from the town library, and we have a number of early childhood providers and agencies as a part of that. And I just want to also thank Board Chair Robert Butler, because he sits on that committee, and it's invaluable to have that support there. And then we acquired quite a few resources now for community-wide learning around early learning. So that's a huge step forward for us. This slide I'm sharing with you, we are actually using this in our teaching and learning work. We meet at least once a week, and we're filling in information here, but I decided to share it with you as a work in progress. We always set goals and then work toward those. And at our retreat, we highlighted the areas that are, there's certainly always the keeping things going, and that's a part of the work, but where are we stretching ourselves and moving next? And again, we can dig into these topics more deeply at another time, but the big buckets are the multi-tiered system of support. And we look at that as really a system that embraces and welcomes every child and the family. And together we determine where that child is at academically, behaviorally, socially, and then we provide the supports for next steps. Sort of like going to the doctor and you get your temperature taken and blood pressure, and there's a screening, there are some paper screenings, there are some short assessments and things that we can do, and then interventions. So there's some learning for everyone. There's some learning that happens when you just need a little bit of extra help to shore up. Those are interventions, or you've already mastered the standards and you're ready for challenge. And then there is certainly more one-to-one types of interventions that happen, including special education. And we are committed to continuing to build that system with our principals. It's already in place, but we want to make that even better. In the second bucket, standards, instruction, assessment, we're excited about the opportunity to potentially adopt a math curriculum. And so we've already put the foundational work into place. I mentioned earlier universal design for learning, and I'd be happy to talk more with you about that, but that is the learning that really is connected with the brain. So, just being certain that how we're teaching is connected with brain science so that it really does help students to learn and is accessible to all, including our special education students. The principals are committed to strengthening their professional learning communities, and to the board of directors, I'd like to say a thank you that you approved the calendar and the negotiated contract that allows us additional time. Families, we so appreciate your support. That time is extremely valuable. Teachers get together, and I mentioned on here data. We're continuing to improve our ability to use that day-by-day unit data to inform instruction and to close gaps and to challenge students as they're ready. Moving to the third bucket, the school climate is really, I touched some of that a little bit earlier, but looking at some sort of a paper screener just a way to check in with the families or check in with the students as to where they are with the social emotional learning. And that's something that we will let our families know about, and they will have a chance to take a look at that and see if they would like their child to participate. But it's helpful information, and it is mandated by the state as well, especially given the COVID circumstances. But even prior to COVID, it was deemed as important. We continue to look at culture responsive teaching, and culture is more than race and demographic. It can also be demographics. It can be how we just kind of the life experience. And there isn't one size fits all, but really being attentive to the child and the family and how to best meet those needs. And then the school board had looked at life skills, and we have identified 7 C's that fit into life skills. I'll mention a few of them and we can talk more another time, but the creative thinking, the collaboration, the communication, critical thinking, citizenship, and so forth are those, some call them 21st century skills or soft skills, but they're the ones that seem to make the difference when students head out into life in terms of jobs, college, military, wherever they're going next. So soft skills play a role in addition to academics. In terms of leveraging technology, just a quick highlight. We started last year. We have a vetted, as we have so many emerging apps and opportunities, just vetting the resources, and we've joined a few consortiums and then providing to teachers which ones are acceptable for use. And we actually shared our process with Foundry 10's technology team, because they work with a number of districts and they wanted to learn from us the process that we're using so that they can share that with their grant recipients. Micro-credentialing is looking at those core pieces that we would like every staff member to have mastered and be able to use. And so there would be an idea that teachers could be, working toward those credentials, not a part of evaluation, but a part of providing that ongoing professional learning support. And we've been, even before COVID, working heavily in this area. And teachers have made great strides, but just, again, that continuous improvement. I shared with you previously, and we can come back to this, but that model for technology where we move from just substituting, making an electronic worksheet to actually leveraging technology to do work that doesn't currently exist, that can't be done in other ways. And we continue to move our district up in that way. We're doing pre and posts, but our goal is to continue to increase our capacity. And then we are so grateful to our community for having passed our previous capital projects levy, and certainly have been using those resources. We are in the process of developing our new 4-year plan that will build upon the successes of these past years. Pathways I mentioned earlier, but pathways are certainly in CTE, but they're in general education. They start with early learning. They move into K-5 readiness for career and life. And then past graduation, there's that opportunity to look ahead at career, and we can support the students in making those transitions. And then with the family and community engagement, we already have an existing parent advisory council for kindergarten through 5th grade in title and LAP, and that's been well received. And we're looking at creating the Family Advisory Council for preschool through 12th grade. And then just in continuing looking for additional ways to engage families and to engage families in helping us to plan the events that we would be involving them, including them in. And as I move to the final slide, I also wanted to say a thank you to a couple of other board members who've been a huge part of this work. Dr. Penegas has been a part of the professional learning, and I shared at the beginning of the presentation that we had the Big School of Rock, which was a success in ongoing learning, and we certainly appreciate the board guidance and voice in that work. And also I'd like to thank Director Veach. As we talked about the materials review, she is on the Instructional Materials Committee and is just a great support in thinking analytically and critically about making good decisions. So on this last slide, I wanted to mention, kind of come back to what I said at the beginning. There was a lot of information here, and I know that I'll be presenting more regularly this year, but I would be glad to bring others with me, and we can focus in on some of the questions that you might have, maybe expanding on some of the topics. I also, knowing that this is a public meeting, just wanted to mention to everyone who is listening in that we're always looking for contributions, ideas, suggestions, ways to make things better. And then the collaboration that comes from contribution. Is there a way that you might be involved that you are currently not, that you could help make this work even better? Because the purpose of everything we do in our district, but tonight we're talking about teaching learning, is really about supporting our students' success, partnering with our families to ensure that success. So we're just so grateful for any collaboration and partnership in that work. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bands. Board, are there any questions you'd like to pose? Or any comments as well?
I just have
do.
a couple. Oh, go ahead.
No, ladies first. Go ahead, Director.
That's kind of you. So on the information that you gave for the sexual education information, I
Yeah.
just wondered if you could either give us the link or put the link somewhere, maybe in the notes for this meeting, so that you know, and parents and community would know how to get to that. I think you
Absolutely.
mentioned second step. I'm pretty sure that's the one with the puppets. Is that
Yes,
the puppet one?
yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. That one's really fun. So
Yeah.
the K-2 curriculum is the, I remember it's more about like self-esteem and things like that. And there's
Right.
puppets, right?
Yes.
Oh, so I wondered if we have a link to that and to the Flash curriculum, if it's linked somewhere, just so that anybody that wanted to see it could just click that link and take a look at it. I don't know if that's available on our brand new district webpage or website, but
That's a great question, and I will check into it. Anything that's online that we can share publicly, we can certainly put on there. Some of the second step is not online. It's actually, like you said, the puppets and the big poster, you know, the pictures of the children in the classroom. But I think what we can do is put the link to the OSPI website, anything that's available online. And then we can also mention that anything that we, for some reason, can't put online, because it might just be in physical form, we'll have available at the schools. And we really invite people to come in and just take a look and go through those.
so is the Flash curriculum online? Is there a link to that, or is the binder inside the school the only way to get it?
I think the binder inside the school, but I'll double check on that, but I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that's the case. And I know that's what we went through with the Instructional Materials Committee.
Okay. And then we mentioned the district nurse a couple of times. I
Yes,
just wondered if we could mention her whole name and maybe put her contact information in the meeting notes, so that anybody that had questions, we know her name's Brittany, but I just wanted to mention it so that anybody that's listening could contact her
Yes.
with questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. I had intended to mention her name and then I was focused on the presentation. Thank you for bringing that up. Her name is Mrs. Brittany Lundberg, and we will definitely put her name and contact information in the notes. And I believe she'll be available in other ways as well. I'm just checking. I know that she had hoped to even join us if possible. It looks like she's not here quite yet. So, but we will certainly make her contact information available in multiple ways.
I'm sure that she's very, very busy right now, but I just thought
Yes.
since we mentioned her in
Yes.
by role, but
Oh,
not by
Am
name.
I the only one that sees Brittany?
Hi, I am here.
There she is. Okay,
I'm listening.
super.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hey,
Brittany, there you are.
here I am. Hi, everyone.
we-
I'm Brittany.
Now we can put a face with a name with a role.
Yep.
Thank
Brit-
you.
Brittany, did you want to just, I know I was going to introduce you if you had been here. Do you want to just, you know, Brittany is brand new to us in her role, although she's been with us in the past, but she's new to the role of district nurse. And so she's excited to jump into all of the training and looking forward to working with the schools. And I don't know if you were here earlier, Brittany, but we mentioned you had even met with the previous nurse and just doing a phenomenal job. We're thankful to have you here with us.
Thank you. So do you want me, I'll just tell you guys a little bit about me. So I've been with the district, this is my 5th year, and I started at Monte Cristo and now I'm at the middle school. So that's kind of where I'm based out of. And as the district nurse, it's been a little bit crazy. So jumping in, being thrown in a little bit, but trying to learn as much and soak it all up. So I'm excited and working to get everything going.
We're happy you're with us.
Okay.
Thank you. So Director Veach, did you have additional comments?
Just two things. One, when you mentioned the micro credentialing, are you meaning things like certification in maybe some Microsoft products or certification in different like smaller software technology things? Is that what you mean by micro credentialing?
That would be exciting and certainly could be one of the options. And we were looking at even just the basic kinds of things when someone comes in, and this could apply to all staff members, but certainly everyone needs to know how to use Zoom and Canvas and so forth. And so just looking at those core competencies that so many of our teachers have worked hard to master, and then they're able to put that on their resume. It's just really a way to recognize and honor, but it also gives us an opportunity then to support those that, just would benefit from some extra assistance and professional learning to get to that level.
Okay. And then my last thing, and this was actually because we've talked about communication and collaboration with the community, I made note that one slide had 8 different acronyms on it. We might want to think about developing a wiki for all the education acronyms, because there's a lot. Anyway, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was well prepared and I appreciate the information.
Thank you. And I do need to remember, I've been working hard to not use acronyms, and then sometimes in a PowerPoint I start to condense, but you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Well, I just think it's an opportunity for us to maybe put something out there that, I don't know, create a wiki or something of all the different words and acronyms. And anyway, thank you.
All right. Board, any other comments or questions for Dr. Mance?
I had a couple.
Go for it, Carl.
So, Dr. Mance, just to, for my personal edification, are we intending on the sexual education curriculum? My understanding is we already have a curriculum, so we aren't needing to adopt a new one now or in the future, even through the upgrades to it in 22-23. Is that correct?
That is correct. The only reason for doing so, if there were something better available, and again, we defer to our district nurse, Brittany Lumber, could be working with the nurses in the ESD or at OSPI. And if there were something that we felt was better suited, maybe some medical advances, sometimes even the HIV/AIDS information shifts a little bit, then at that point we would involve our families in looking at those materials. But right now we're set. What we have is just exactly what we need to move forward.
And so, and I know you said this, but I just want to, I guess, say it again to make sure I understand, is no curriculum has changed with the adoption of this. We haven't done anything we've been doing for the last 5 years or so.
No, we did not, no.
Can you just quickly kind of, so if we did decide that we were going to do a new curriculum, how would that, and we have a requirement as part of that Senate bill to notify parents at the beginning of the school year and engage them on that, what would that look like? Can you just give us a quick synopsis of that?
Sure. If we were interested, if there were a compelling reason to make a change, then we would communicate that out to families so that we would let them know that, what the timeline would be, what we would be looking at. We'd be asking for their involvement in, helping us to choose those materials or to make some decisions on those. And then along the way, because this is a topic that, I know as a parent, I would certainly, want to know what my child's school is teaching. We would also share that with the families before it's adopted and even goes to the school board for adoption. And so there'd be those opportunities to come in and provide feedback on those materials so that we would make a choice that reflects our community values and is in alignment with requirements.
Got it. So we would send out a notification, have a committee or a group of parents, stakeholders, kind of everybody that would kind of look at it, you know, give the board a recommendation, kind of like an IMC thing.
Yes.
And then it would come before the board, and there would be also another public comment period where parents would be able to say whether they're okay with that
Right.
or not. Okay. And then I noticed on that sheet, we talk about certainly the requirements under the Senate bill for parents to opt out of all or part of it, and our responsibility to obviously honor that request to opt out. But I didn't see anywhere in there, maybe I missed it because you scrolled through it pretty quickly, do we give them information on how to do that, who to contact, or how to go about that process?
We do. That information goes when the school is looking at in this process, they're sending home the notification to the families and letting them know when it will be taught and how they can access the materials, and they have a generous period of time to look at those. And then part of that communication explains what they do to opt their child out, how that communication occurs.
Got it. And the how they view that materials, is it my understanding the flash is only available in person to view because of kind of how that curriculum is that correct?
That is, and so what we've done in the past is we've had like multiple copies of it and available in the space where parents can go and take a look and take their time to review the materials. In the COVID time, there's been some questions about, if a family can't come in, it's just on a case-by-case basis, making sure that if a family can't come in for some reason, how we can ensure that they have an opportunity to see it. But typically it's available in a space in the school, and then they have as much time as they want to look through it. The point is really, even if this weren't in the law, we would want our families to be able to really, really look at what we're teaching and make decisions that are best for their families. For whatever reason, they might choose to not have their child engage, but we want to be able to ensure that they really have all the information that they need so they can make the best decision.
Yeah, certainly. So I guess, is there a way, and you knew exactly where I was going, so obviously with the limited access that we have to buildings and kind of all of that stuff, it seems kind of imperative, at least in my mind, that we have some way that a parent can view that online to be able to determine, because also, I mean, there's a lot of parents who work, right, Monday through Friday school times, and we're requiring them to come into school. That's kind of a big ask. And so is there any way that we can look into getting that in some sort of format that they can view online?
Yes, we can absolutely look into that. And that's been something on my list to talk to Ms. Lundberg about, our new district nurse. But as she mentioned, she's been so extremely busy, but she will be working with the Educational Service District and as OSPI, because all the other districts are in the same situation, and really looking at how we can ensure that families will have access to the materials so that they can review those. And just so you know, it might be good just to mention too, we do similar processes for other materials and other questions, and we've just worked really hard to accommodate working schedules. And so I know I've been here in the evenings with families. We've looked for different ways to make it work just so that families do have the access that they need.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So one final question. Is this sheet online now, or is it going to be online? I just want to be clear on that.
I believe it is already live. In fact, I think I checked a few days ago and it's on the website already.
Do you mind, could you show us how you access that real quick?
I will see if I can do that. I wonder if Melanie's on the call. She will be much faster because she's the one that posted it. Are you here, Melanie?
I am.
Would you feel comfortable showing us where it is? I don't mean to put you on the spot. Otherwise, I'll navigate there, but I know you'll be faster.
I believe we put it under the teaching and learning, which we hid right now until that page is updated
Okay,
with an opening.
so you
So
know,
it's not actually active on the website right now. It's up there, but it's hidden still.
so what we could do, I wonder if we can put it in a different spot then, Melanie, just for right now. Is there another landing place for it just temporarily?
And you guys don't necessarily have to, I don't want to put anyone on the spot. You don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, you answered my question because I looked prior to this meeting and I couldn't find it. I'm pretty savvy and that Melanie just answered my question. It's not accessible by me. So, you know, if we could put it somewhere else, that would be great. Or, you know, just in a way the parents can access it. I think that would be wonderful.
Yes, and thank you for asking. I went in, I saw it because I went in through the back road where we're building out the teaching and learning in a way that hasn't been there before. So, but I think we can find another spot for it and then we can always move it or
Yeah.
have it in two places. So,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with you guys figuring that out offline. We don't have to figure that out right now. That's all I've got, Director Butler.
Thank you. Other board members, any comments or questions? Yes, Dr. Panegas.
I just want to briefly mention, this is a very informative and the questions were great. I just want to point out that we have a real idea that will work for the future. And I think we're working on it anyway. And that's the connection with what we've talked about tonight and Community Coalition. The Community Coalition has really changed drastically the last couple of years. Kind of, they're by themselves. They're not along with Lake Stevens, and there's lots of grant money. They have trucks. They've got a refrigerated truck, and they're here, you know, on our campus. There's a lot of cooperation has already taken place, but I think there's, as far as thinking, and we don't have to become one unit, of course, but I think there's amazing things can happen. Not because my wife is the president of the coalition. She's done a lot of work with the grant writing. Bridget McVeigh, who is the principal, Crossroads. I just think there is communication. I just think we should open up the paradigm and saying, okay, what can be done, rather than, and I'm not saying it's this way, rather than let's not tread on somebody else's turf. Or I think the possibilities are fantastic, and it brought me as a spouse a lot closer to the needs and the people that are doing this work. And it's not just food, it's you know, counseling ideas. The needs are great, and the challenges now especially are great. But it seems like, and politics it's a beating on this, but on the differences. And I certainly hope that when these elections come up or come and go in November, these people, and both all of the people tonight that have talked and the people at the coalition, they work so hard, and they're thinking the same way. So I just hope we take advantage of that opportunity, rather than saying that, well, you know, we got to try to get around what they're proposing or what. I don't know enough details to get into that, but I do know there's possibilities that haven't been explored yet, and you've got to be looking at the positive. Why can't we not do this? Or, you know, no, we don't want to deal with that turf. Or anyway, it's just a way of thinking, and I think I'm excited about those possibilities.
All right, thank you, Dr. Panegas. All right, that's everything. Thank you so much, Dr. Manns, as well. Thank you, Brittany, for being on the call and presenting. Before we move on to item 3B, those who don't know, I'm in charge of running the meeting, so I got the agenda in front of me and I'm going through it. And I realize that there is an error that we need to address in the typo. So I would like to make a motion that we move items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 down one a number, so they become 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we add a new item 4, which is items from the floor, which somehow got left off the agenda. Is that clear what we're doing there? So motion is made.
I'd like to
Oh.
second the motion.
Okay, motion is second. Any comment from the board before we vote? Pretty straightforward. All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 And any opposed? All right, thank you for that. Yeah, I just realized that was missing. That's probably why I have it printed in front of me to go through as we have our meeting, checking off everything as we go. All right, moving on to item 3B, enrollment update presented by Mr. Cruz.
So the enrollment update is very brief tonight because we just got the data at about 1 o'clock today. So I know everybody's very curious about it. So I threw something together really quick to try and present to you. I'll do a deeper dive at the next board meeting, but I'll share my screen real quick. And hopefully everybody is seeing a kind of a slide with enrollment on it. Is that correct? All right, good. So on the left-hand part of the screen is our budget information. So as a reminder, the 1920 school year before COVID really hit, we were at 2,083 students. For 2021, we budgeted for 2,094. Our final average enrollment for 2021 was 2,015. For 21-22, we budgeted for 2,074. So about the second week of July, we start tracking where our enrollment really is in Skyward. And when we first looked, it was 2,082. And from that point on, I'm tracking it every day and seeing how it's going. But I just threw in a couple of snapshots. On 8/13, it was 2,165. By 8/31, which was the day before school started, we were at 2,242. The first day of the day before count, we were at 2,203. The first official count day, we were down to 2,138. And by the time we made all of our final corrections, got Crossroads count done, our official first count is 2,120. So you can see the kind of the problems we have with deciding how much staffing to do. This is a normal trend. This is moving on to the second page here. We normally see when we first look at enrollment, it's low. Families tend to enroll their kids when they're going to before the withdrawals happen. So all these enrollments come in and we top out at, right around 2,250. And then when the kids start showing up to school, we start realizing that kids have moved to other places. Kids are homeschooling. We haven't gotten the paperwork requests from other school districts yet, and they drop off. And this is kind of a typical curve to how a school year starts for us. So, back in this 8/31, 8/13 time frame, when our enrollment looks high, the schools are going crazy, saying, "Oh, we're very understaffed. We need teachers. We need teachers. We need teachers." And they're probably talking to you guys about needing teachers, and we're trying to calm that down a little bit because we know that there's going to be this tailing off at the end. So we have to kind of hold off on hiring until we start seeing this tailing off happen, and we know what kind of staffing levels we need, and trying not to hire more teachers than we need. And I think we did a pretty good job with that again this year. We're probably 2 teachers heavy, but we have some ideas about how those teachers how we can utilize those teachers to help with other things. Back to the first slide. I took a look at all the adds and drops, the report that I was sending you guys all last year. The adds and drops are about 800 lines long because of all the new enrollments of the year and all the drops. So I have to filter through that to try and get the information that is meaningful. Somebody who's aged out, someone who's graduated, a kindergartner who's enrolled for the first time. Those data points aren't that meaningful to you. What's meaningful is where did kids go and where did kids come from? So I'll work on filtering through all that data and put it in I started to try and put it in here, but it was an eye chart. It was just too hard to read. So I need to filter out all the stuff that I don't think is as important and give where the 150 kids, why are we at 100 kids higher at our peak than we are now? That kind of thing, I think is more information, and why we couldn't see that information earlier. All those things I think are important things for us to talk about. And I'm going to stop sharing. And I can email you that, guys, this after the board meeting, so you can look through it on your own as well. But it's just the 2 slides.
Board, any questions for Mr. Cruz? I appreciate your hard work on that. The numbers is one of the things, the enrollment is one of the things that does keep me up. So I appreciate your hard work on that. It's not just last year, I've been doing it for a long time. So I appreciate that very much.
And just a final, I don't know, exclamation point. We are up 50 kids from budget, and we're up 105 kids from how we ended last year. So 105 students. So I think that's a positive trend.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3C. Let's go to Mr. Freeman on the facilities update.
Are there any questions on the facilities update?
I did have one question. I thought, I'm just wondering, I know we talked about the middle school issues with some of the facade and some of the trim. Is that, I didn't see it on the report. Is that something we're going to look at? Like, what's the plan for that?
Yeah,
Is
so
there a
we had
plan?
to halt on some of the repairs like that so we can get school in. Like Marshall said, we hired more teachers, so we had to make room for all those classes. So we moved teachers, put them in portables. So that took a lot of work. We had to move about 130 or 140 student desks. So that took almost a week to do throughout the campuses. So now that we're slowing down and everyone's getting comfortable, we should get back and hit that list and get that repaired.
All right. That was the only thing I saw glaring from the report. Board, any other questions?
I have a couple. Is that all right?
Of course. Cool.
Hey, Dion. I noticed in all of the buildings, you basically gave a note of replaced air filters, installed air purifiers in the classroom. Did all classrooms get the air purifiers and all classrooms get the filters, or is it either or what does that look like?
The filters that we do 4 times a year, it's for the entire building. So whatever campus it is, I was just letting you guys know that all buildings, the filtration system for the HVAC system has all been done. The HVAC units that are in the classrooms, yes, each classroom received a purifier in their classroom. I received a shipment of 35 more to cover nurses' offices. A couple counselors asked me for some. So I have 35 more to hand out for those other rooms that we didn't get to. ISS rooms, things like that.
Where are those purifiers? Did we get that through like an HVAC recommendation to have those, or was it just best practice, just out of curiosity?
It was basically a notice from Stoughton who put purifiers in their classrooms. So we reached out to them and asked them what they used. So we just bought the same unit. They said that they work wonderful. So we just purchased the same units that they used.
Awesome. I'm trying to find it here, but on the filters and stuff, one of the things that they talk about on the Washington State Department of Health website is changing filters regularly, making sure that the filter is secure, cleaning it. Hold on, I of almost there, and stuff like that. I would imagine that we do all of that stuff. I guess I just wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, so we do it on a rotating cycle, about every 4 months, 3 or 4 months. With the deliveries of COVID now, it's hard to get all the filters all at once. Our last shipment came in 3 different orders, but we were managed to get it done by August the 31st. But we change them, take them out, throw them in the trash, and then we put in a new one. Takes maintenance department about a month to get the whole district done.
Do you know what level they are? Because they recommend a MERV 13 or higher, whatever that means.
We use 13.
Use 13. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Yeah, the MERV 13 or higher is recommended. Okay.
It only goes to 13.
That's all I got on that. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Freeman? All right, thank you so much, Dion. Let's move on to item 3D, Superintendent Report. Dr. Middleton. I see you. There you are.
Thank you. Just want to just acknowledge that Director Butler had mentioned that I asked him to do that because that's one of the guidance that we are providing our families for us to get through this pandemic. If a staff member or student isn't feeling well, please, we need to keep them home and not bring that to campus and share that. And so I just said, let me be that example. And I appreciate working with tonight and going through this meeting. But that is the reason, and I take that seriously, and I want to sort of walk that talk. And in my household right now, we've got 2 healthy and 2 sick, and the 2 sick are in their own separate areas, not spreading. And it's just so important right now for our staff and families to follow suit. I want to also recognize our district nurse, Brittany Lundberg, who has really stepped in this position at such an unbelievable time. I know that I've shared with the board and shared with even our community that we knew that there would be some quarantine, but the level that we're at has been unreal, just to show how contagious this is. And Brittany has really stepped in and has been supported by specifically Jennifer Harmon and Karen Mans and Marshall and Elizabeth, excuse me, Mills and Melanie, a whole host of people to help be successful during this time and get communication out. And it is that life right now, almost 24/7 in dealing with this. So I want to thank Brittany for stepping in and leading this. Director Veach had, again, some wonderful comments that I have to stand beside her and agree with. Yesterday, the state superintendent spoke to the superintendents and other administrators and stakeholders in the state. And he did mention that, similar to us, that the amount of positive cases and primary or direct exposures has been really high. And of course, in our own county, the last 2 weeks, we're at a higher case rate, 2-week rolling case rate, than we were at the peak last year. So it is out there, it's prevalent. And and so he said, you know what, we're going to have kids at home. And he said, I get it. It's the start of school. It's more than we imagine. You're going to have to do packets at first. I get it. But, and this is the but that Director Veach and I, you know, agree on and stand on, and I know the board does as well, is we can't let that be our best work. We have got to be able to use Canvas, which is our learning management system. We need to have work available on that, resources on that. And I want to say that there are teachers right now who are Zooming with students that are in quarantine. And we want to see that expand. And we're certainly working with our association to come up with a process to make that not the exception, but more the norm. And so we'll continue to work on that. And as Superintendent Reichdahl said, we want to get to that, you know, that point where we can, you know, just live stream for a little bit, then let kids work on, you know, if it's math, work on a few problems, check in and out. On a related note, we have the online registration for what would be on the online schooling. And as I shared with you, there was very little interest in May. And over the summer, we would get a couple of emails saying, are you reconsidering? And at that point, it was still no. It was harder to justify when only about 17 expressed interest. But when we did the survey again, you know, we had over 300 interested. We opened it up for a very short amount of time. And, you know, we have more than 17, but we don't have 300 either. And in fact, I've asked Melanie to just open that window for a couple more days if some families are on the fence. Before the meeting, we saw about 30 people, 30 actual students whose families have submitted. So we're going to need to take the next couple days to see what that could look like. And again, have discussions on viability. So I'll be reporting back to you as to what those numbers could look like and how we would proceed going forward.
Dr. M, are you still there?
I am. I'm just looking at my notes, and I honestly, I think I've covered what I can cover tonight.
All right. Are there any questions for Dr. Middleton, board?
I've just got a quick one. If so, Dr. M, by the way, thanks for being a trooper. I know you're not feeling well. So are we so optimistic that we will be able to make the norm the teaching from the Zoom, which potentially, I don't know how that interacts with having a virtual learning environment also. If there's no need, if we're teaching from Zoom, or what that looks like, are we still optimistic that's going to happen, or can you just, I guess, where are we at with that?
I would say we're in discussions with our association on having that as something on our menu for reaching our students, along with having a active Canvas presence. In terms of the online schooling, I'm optimistic we can do that. So I'm optimistic on both of those things. They're related, but they are separate also.
Okay, so if we had, and just this is an if and a big if, but so let's say if we're able to do the, you know, teachers kind of teaching the Zoom, able to interact with kids via Zoom, is that the virtual platform? So we basically say, okay, everybody that wants to be remote can be remote, and they'll learn via that, or it's something else? I guess I'm still unclear on that.
Yeah, it is something else. I envision, let's take middle school and high school in particular, because that's where we have students going to 6 classes a day. And as Director Veach said, it would be tough to miss, 14 days, but 10 school days and those lessons. And if we can, again, just reach that agreement of teacher A, at this time, turn on something that's looking at you and the board and go through the math sequence or something like that, maybe have an opportunity for a question. And then that student could then go off and be working on their work. This online schooling, though, that's really for parents and families. Families and students that they really don't want to come on campus right now. They want to have that remote experience the whole time, and it's not about being quarantined. It's a deliberate choice. It's like the virtual academy last year, only they would be interacting with that online schooling teacher throughout the day, whereas in virtual academy last year, there was a little bit of check-in, and then for the day, the student was working on various things. So I'm not sure if you're tracking on what I'm describing, Director Carey.
I am, Doctor. Yeah, you answered my question for now. I think Director Veach had something.
Yeah, I'm going to bandwagon. I appreciate Dr. Middleton. I appreciate the support. And as I think about it even more, I listened to Director Carey talk about teaching from the Zoom. And I think what you were saying there, Dr. M, meets what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the students we have in quarantine. So this is not an extra load on that classroom teacher to have a private Zoom link, because this is a student that would normally be sitting in their classroom. So they're not taking on additional students who are choosing remote learning as for the year. These are kids that are registered in their class and would normally be sitting in the chair, at least having the opportunity at those higher grade levels, especially, middle school, high school, and honestly, I think the upper grades in elementary school, to be able to hear what the teacher is talking about and to be able to hear the questions that their peers are asking and to be able to hear those answers and to ask a question just by clicking the button and raising the hand. I strongly think that we need to stop with the packets for these kids. It's a waste. They don't do them in tournament anyways. And I mean, some might, but the percentage, I dare say, is low. And it's extra work because they still have 10 days worth of work when they come back. My daughter, I looked at her campus, and I'm going to call her out in a public meeting and tell you she already had missing assignments in AP Gov, right? If she missed 10 days of AP Gov, that would sink her ship. We're not doing our best effort for these students if we're not giving them access to their teachers, and instead are handing them a packet and then making them 10 school days behind in 6 separate classes. We need to do our very best for the students every day. I feel strongly about that. So thank you for the support.
And Director Veach, I want to really validate what you were saying, especially at the middle school and high school level. At the elementary, I think there are some factors that make it a little bit harder to zoom in. And to get back to Director Carey, I would see an opportunity for elementary students who are in quarantine to zoom in with the online schooling for a little bit. And in talking this afternoon with GFEA, it was even mentioned that grade level teams at the elementary could, really include that online teacher to make sure that, there's some pacing going on or some discussion going on. So, that they wouldn't be missing out. And yet they could have sort of a all day long presence with that online schooling teacher. But that's where our thinking is right now. I think once we take a look at our numbers tomorrow with the online schooling, I can give you an update and our board insights and give you, I guess, some of those more detailed items.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Director Green, Director Panegas? I want to thank you for being on the meeting tonight, Josh. Sorry, Dr. Middleton. And I also want to, I would like to make a motion, whether you like it or not. I'd like to make a motion that we strike item 9, executive session, from the agenda. It's superintendent evaluation process. We're going through the superintendent evaluation. I'm not going to make Josh stay any longer than needs be, especially talking and going through things. I can tell he was working really hard to get through his report, and I appreciate that. And that's the motion I'd like to make.
Second that.
The motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion, board? I'm sorry, I should ask that first. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? All right, so that's been struck. I would ask you to stay on for us a meeting in case clarifying questions need to be asked, Dr. Middleton, but get you out here a little earlier. Moving on to item 3E, board reports, WIAA.
Yes, I'll keep this brief. I talked to it's really good. We're having a chance to talk very close to the meetings, and I feel really good about that. The big thing was, well, a lot of good things are happening. That all sports are going on, and they're getting to the places, and football, of course, 2-0. They've won their 2 games. So the girls volleyball is 2-1, soccer's 2-1. That's not important. It's just that the participation is going. The positive test results affected some athletes, a couple of soccer players, quarterback and the starting quarterback in football, and that and he said that he has heard some things about that, but the transportation even is a problem. They didn't know this Friday to go over to Kashmir if they were going to have a bus. I guess this morning they got a bus driver. So these are just things, they just go from one to the other. But he seems really, really positive about it.
Dr. Panegas, I might have missed that. Who's he? Who are you talking to?
The athletic director and assistant
Michael.
principal.
Got it. Sorry. I missed that.
Mainland. I'm sorry, I didn't mention his name. The wrestling, well, that wrestling comes later, so that'll be in the spring. He made a point of thanking you, the board, and mainly the superintendent, I guess, that they have 3, or I don't know, they have new wrestling mats, and he was very impressed by that. I guess he feels, really, really positive. Michael does. I guess it's so uncertain. You know, so far some good things have happened, and it's so much up in the air. And I can tell from Josh, and how we respond to these things. Will these seasons be played out to the end? You know, I don't know, but it's sure good that we've had it. We've had that so far, and you know, but the most important thing, of course, are the athletes and their what they're doing. But health takes precedence. We know that, and it's just. But sports is a big thing in the community, and so he mentioned that he's very happy to be here, and I said, well, are you going to go over there on Friday to Kashmir? Just over, you know, the other side of, you know, Kashmir's. Anyway, he said, yes, I'm going. I'm going over there. I'm going to drive over there on Friday, and he has to come back and catch a 6 a.m. plane flight to Florida because his father is having a birthday, 50 or 60, I don't know. But anyway, he said my mom won't settle for me not going back there. So it's something that was in plans before he came to Granite. But I think he's got a lot of enthusiasm, and I feel really good about the administration at the high school and throughout the district. We've made, you know, great hires. So I'll try to keep we don't need to go into this much detail every time, but I am going to try to talk to him before these reports. Last year, it wasn't that way. I was pretty general in my comments. So,
Okay.
Michael I think we're in good shape there. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Dr. Panegas? I had a question, Dr. Panegas, real quick. I understand, is it today someone's birthday?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
I just want to wish happy birthday to Dr. Panegas.
Yeah, okay.
It is his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
30th birthday, Dr. P.
30th, that's right. How did you know?
How much? What did you
30th.
say?
30th.
Oh,
30th.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But if I were 30, I wouldn't be fumbling around for short-term memory names and stuff. Anyway, thank you
All right.
for that too.
Legislative report.
Yeah, so the General Assembly was originally going to be in person. WASDA has pivoted to an online version of it, similar to what they did last year. For those of you guys who don't know, the General Assembly is kind of where all of the school boards in the state of Washington come together and vote on the legislative and permanent positions of WASDA, and where we update WASDA's advocacy platform. And that kind of directs WASDA's advocacy until the next year. So there's a number of legislative and permanent positions. Last time, appreciate it. You guys gave me, I attended virtually, and you guys gave me the authority to kind of vote on behalf of the board. And that was an interesting and lively kind of 2-day process. Fortunately, I can't make those dates work, the 29th and the 30th in my schedule. So the question is, A, is there someone else from the board that could attend virtually on those 2 days and vote for us? And then I guess based upon that, I've got a B question. And by the way, I did attend this past week. They had a lunch and learn where they kind of talked about the General Assembly and kind of how different boards are kind of, you know, some boards get together and they vote on all of the legislative priorities ahead of time. So the person who attends is basically just voting as the consensus of the board. Some boards do as we did in the past, where you kind of direct one person to vote on behalf of the board and kind of everything in between. So, so first off, is anyone available to the 29th and 30th? It's not, there's no requirement that we have to go, but it's certainly highly encouraged.
Is it
I
all
usually
day?
go to this. Oh, yeah, great question.
Yeah,
It is all day on the 29th and most of the day on the 30th. So all day on Friday and most of the day on the 30th. So it's there. They say 10 to 6. Well, I said most of the day. They say 10 to 6 on Friday and 10 to 5 on Saturday.
Ooh. There's several things on my calendar. I'll be a maybe. I have to see if I can, how my work schedule, I only have my personal schedule, so I'll have to look at my work schedule as well.
Are you talking about of October, correct?
Yeah, of October. Sorry, that was for me. Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could have one person attend one day and one person attend the other. However, they highly suggest that it's the same person for both, just because, you might have, differences in voting unless we all, blah, blah, blah. But we could do
So
that.
I can most likely attend. I usually, when we have the WASDA event and conference in person, I usually go to the voting. Like I've done it every time in person. So I'm very familiar. So unless Director Veach wants to and you're able to,
I would be happy to allow you to do that. I know that I have a pretty full schedule, but I didn't want to leave it unrepresented, right? So I appreciate you being able to do that.
yeah, especially since it's October and because you just said 29th and 30th. I'm like, it's a Wednesday and a Thursday.
No. So I obviously we could talk about it here as part of this, but I'm comfortable as we did last year for me, given Director Butler essentially the keys to be able to vote on behalf of the board on those legislative and permanent positions. I mean, I certainly don't necessarily see the need to vote as a board, but I'm comfortable with whatever we as collectively as the board want to do.
Never done it in the past.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I've been here 8 years, and every year I think we just basically gave someone the ability to vote for us. So.
Yep. And usually it's me. All right. Okay.
I definitely second that. I've been to that in the past, and I think Board President Butler is certainly well prepared for that. And I appreciate him considering that.
Yeah.
Director Butler, I have the handbook for the General Assembly with all of those positions and stuff on it. It's on the WASDA website, but I can also email it to you just so that you can start looking over it too.
Yeah, feel free. That'd be great.
So I guess Melanie, can you register and Director Butler for that? It's free. There is no cost. We just need to register. Or I guess I should have said, Dr. M, can you have Melanie register? Probably the better way of doing that. Sorry.
Got it.
Carl?
That's all I've got.
All right. Any questions for Director Carey? All right, community report, Director Green.
Yes, October 2nd is Railroad Days. Look forward to that. That's all I got.
Is the district having a booth? Josh, do you know? Dr. M?
Yes, we're planning on that.
Okay, I assume there's going to be a schedule put out about who can man the booth at what time.
Yes, correct.
Okay, just look forward to that, directors. Any other questions for Director Green? All right, moving on to item 4, items from the floor. We do have people who signed up. Let me go ahead and read our statement and then we'll begin. The Grand Falls School Board welcomes the opportunity to hear public comments and allows time for this purpose at each regular session meeting under items from the floor. In the interest of time, order, and respect to others, comments will be limited to 5 minutes or less. Personnel matters, i.e. complaints or charges about employees, are not permissible during items from the floor. Such issues are to be addressed to the principal or the school or the superintendent in writing. The board, superintendent, or district personnel do not engage in direct conversation or give feedback during this meeting. However, the board members may ask clarifying questions regarding the subject matter exclusively. The board president may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when it is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or concerning a legal matter. Questions or concerns from those addressing the board may be referred to the superintendent or staff for follow-up at a later date if needed. In essence, the board action and discussion is limited to previously published agenda topics. This limitation is based on the legal requirements set forth in RCW 4230. Please also refer to the board policy, the policies within the 1000 series addressing the Granite Falls School District Board of Directors. That's a mouthful. So just a reminder how this works in our Zoom setting. People have signed up for him to speak. I will call. We will do an audio check to make sure everything's working. You will have 5 minutes. When the moment you start speaking, I'll hit my stopwatch. I'll give you a minute warning mark, and then at 5 minutes, if you haven't completed your comments, I will end the time at that moment. So first up, signed up, we have Jennifer Adams. I see. I thought I saw her, and then my screen moved.
Hello.
There you are. Oh, we're turning video on. Okay.
Oh, do you not want that?
Yeah. So yeah, we weren't doing that. I thought Dan had that disabled. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're trying to keep it more secure. We have been attacked in the past with Zoom, so maybe Dan can work on that. But you're not in trouble at all. So that was a technical issue on our part. So let me get my stopwatch, make sure we're ready. So you have 5 minutes, and I'll give you warning at the 1 minute mark. So whenever you're ready.
All right. Hello, everyone. I just have a statement that I wanted to say. I just want to thank you, the school board, the district, administration, staff, teachers, and everyone that is involved with the day-to-day operations of making sure that school is running and functioning properly, and the kids are able to be in school. I appreciate the adaptability, the hard work, and the care that you show each and every day. What we've been going through over the past almost 2 years has been challenging. Workers are facing fatigue, families are struggling to put food on the table, workers are tired, exhausted, and overworked. Everyone is trying their best to make sure the kids are able to go in-person school and do it efficiently and safely. Last year, they were able to transition to virtual schooling, which took a huge amount of effort and work. I'm grateful and thankful for all the work that everyone is putting into making sure that our students' education is successful. I want us to be a strong, tight-knit, and united community that helps each other when needed. My hope is that we are all able to extend kindness, grace, patience, and understanding. This is a challenging situation, and everyone is doing the best they can. Let's all work together to make sure that this school year is a success for all the students in the district, and we're working to build and not break down this amazing community. Thank you all and have a great evening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any clarifying questions, board? All right. Our next speaker is Caitlin Schrank. Am I pronouncing that right? Caitlin, are you on?
Yes, you are pronouncing it correct.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And it looks like your audio is working. Do you need a reminder of how this is going to work?
Nope, 5 minutes. Hopefully it won't take that long.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't realize we weren't going to be using the camera because I brought some stuff to show. So I'll try to do my best. I just had a statement kind of regarding the recent confusion and communication with the COVID quarantine protocols that the schools are having. Obviously, you guys have received emails. If you hadn't, there wouldn't have been a mass email back out to the public regarding what the policies are going to be, or you guys are working on the fact that there are packets being sent home. So thank you very much, Director Veach, for addressing that, because that was a major concern for me and a little bit of a heartbreak as a parent to get 2 packets for my daughter for her 2 weeks of quarantine, and she finished them within 2 days and is now just sitting at home with nothing to do except for what I can get her while still trying to work a full-time job. And so my concern, majority of my concern, is what you guys have posted on the school website, on the district website, is very confusing and contradicting. I have here the Welcome Back 2021-2022 Plan and Protocols form. It's 19 pages. On page 6, actually page 10, it talks about Granite Falls will notify families of students who have had close contact in the same class cohort while on the bus or on the same club or team. This has not been the standard that has gone out In fact, a number of children from my development have all had different experiences with how they were told they needed to quarantine. My daughter had a bus exposure, and I was notified on September 7th of the exposure that happened on September 3rd. That was 4 days that she was out socializing, playing with other children, that we were not aware that she had been in contact with a COVID positive person. The hardest part was the girl who shares the bus seat with her was not notified. I contacted her parents to ask her how her daughter was doing, and she was dumbfounded that she had never been notified. The school still didn't notify her the day after I was notified. She got notified by the school health, or by the Snohomish Health Department, who then said she was supposed to have been in quarantine since Friday the 3rd. So I'm confused as to what the protocol is. It's on your website that they will be notified, but you guys also have a flow chart that is on your website that contradicts that information and says it will be, the school district will notify the health department will do an investigation, and then the health department will notify people of the incident. So you guys have two different forms in the same COVID link on your guys' district website that contradict each other. My last concern regarding COVID is it says each school will have specific process. Sorry, I'm back to the 2021 plans and protocols. And on page 6, it says each school will have specific process for entering school. Look for communication from your child's school. Other than the school bus having a seating chart, I have not had communication from the school on what their protocols are. Last year, when we went back to school, we had all children got their temperatures taken when they entered the school. That's not being done. Both my children go to Monte Cristo and Mountain Way, and they have confirmed with me that they do not get their temperatures taken. And we used to have a health form that we filled out on.
1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. We used to have a health form that we'd filled out on Skyline before our children attended school each day, and we have gotten away from that. And so I'm curious what we're doing, what specific processes are we doing to help protect our kids? It seems like we've actually gotten away from it. I'll be done.
All right, thank you very much, Caitlin. Are there any clarifying questions from the board? All right, thank you very much, Caitlin.
Oh, sorry, I had a question. Let me look. By the way, Caitlin, thank you for the support. I appreciate that. We haven't met before, but I appreciate the support, and I wish we could see you in person. So I was taking notes quickly as you were talking. So you mentioned page 6 and page 10 on in the same document, and then the flow chart that is on the web page. So those are the 3 documents that have some information that need clarification. Is that right? Did I miss any?
Nope, those are it. It's
okay.
It's hard to find, by the way, on the website. I've looked at other school websites and they have a COVID-19 like right there, a link right there for all the school requirements. This one I had to dig a little bit for, and it's the 2021-2022 plan and protocols, page 6 and page 10.
Okay.
And the flow chart is another link in that same section that contradicts the plan itself.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got all of the references written down.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, that is everyone that signed up for comments this evening. That being the case, we'll move on to item, check my numbers, I changed them all. Item 5, unfinished business. We have none. So move on to item 6, new business, calendar resolution. Dr. M, you want to briefly explain this for the board? Yeah, there you are, still there.
Yep, I'm there. Yes, this resolution is, we're required to provide 180 days of instruction and 1,027 hours per year but the state does allow for us to apply for a waiver, which we would like to do because we will still meet the hour requirement, but we would have 179 days. That 180th day, we would be providing professional development to our staff, or adding an additional day of professional development.
Board, any questions on that?
Yeah, so Dr. M, so if we do have a snow day or a mist day or something, that's just tacked on at the end, or how do we address that?
That is correct. In our work with the associations during negotiations, there is no desire to have a built-in snow day. We're just accepting that if that does occur, then we would just tack it on.
So, and that's, there's no provision, I just asked because I haven't seen the contract yet. There's no provision that we pay extra or anything for that, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think, is there a way that we can, I think I asked this before, maybe so this is probably in the works, but is that something we can just communicate clearly? Because I know in the past, previous to you being here, we had snow days, a glut of them that really impacted, summer plans and stuff like that. And parents seem to be kind of caught off guard by it. So.
Right. Now that's a great idea of just suggesting not taking any summer vacations until, a certain day in June to allow a little bit of padding.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, board? If not, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the calendar resolution.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Motion made with a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 6B, Facilities Master Plan RFQ. Josh, quick explanation for us, please.
Sure. We talked last meeting or 2 meetings ago about getting a RFQ written. This does not obligate us financially. It was, and really I'm looking more for a thumbs up than an actual vote. I wanted to give you a chance to read it. And, if you're good with that, and there are some changes that I saw after the fact that made some reference. I certainly borrowed from some other districts in the country and really came up with this one for ours. I also have run it by our legal team. But aside from, updating a couple of words, this would then be posted, having a legal posting for architectural firms and school planners to look at this and bid on this project. And I don't have specific dates because I wanted to, again, get your feedback first, but it's about a 5-week process. And once the RFQ goes out and they consider it, they would write a proposal of their qualifications, send it back. Then we would know what that dollar amount could be. And, we would have an interview with that, with the top ones that have submitted. And if it's something the board would want to go forward with, then I would bring it to you. And that's when there's money attached, because we would know what the costs for services would be. So tonight is just, do you like this format? Do you want me to continue? Would you like me to release it after I make a couple of those small changes?
Questions, please. Yes.
Oh, ladies first. Go ahead, Director.
No, you go first this time, Director Carey.
Okay. Hey, Dr. M, first, I want to apologize to you because I should have read this in greater detail before. But I looked at it. And so, my 9 to 5, I'm a consultant, and filling out RFQs and RFPs is literally all I do every day. And there is a big difference between an RFQ and an RFP. An RFQ, request for qualifications, basically says, hey, show me of all the companies, show me the qualifications you have to do this work. Typically that's done first, and then you pick the person that you feel is best qualified to do the work, and then you negotiate a contract with them. An RFP is a request for proposal, says, hey, I want a number. I want everyone to give me a number. And along with that, you can ask for qualifications, of course, but I want a number on what it is to do this specific quote. We mix those RFQ, RFP terms big time in this. Sometimes we call it an RFQ, sometimes we say RFP. It's this huge hodgepodge. I'll just give you an example. It says the RFQ, request for qualifications, facility master planning design. The purpose of this request for qualifications is to obtain information to enable the district to select an ideal candidate. Hold on, I wonder maybe if I could just even share my screen here, because I know there's people listening and they can see what I'm talking about. Can you guys see my screen?
I can't. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay. So we call it an RFQ, but here, down here, we call it an RFP. So district reserves right to make any information on proposals. We're asking for proposal in the RFP and the RFP process. And then obviously you caught it where we say trustees and its directors and stuff like that. And I think we're asking for an RFP. We want to know the firm numbers of something. And I certainly think that's the best way to do that, is to ask for an RFP. So I guess I first think that we kind of need to clarify that to verify what we need. What do you think?
I would be fine if RFP is, yeah, I've been involved with those as well. As I said, I sort of looked for some of the best ones out there that were succinct, but got to the point. And but changing this to RFP does not really change what we're asking for. If that's the better verbiage, then that's an easy change.
Yeah, it's definitely the I mean, and I guess I'm assuming that that's what you want, that based on what you said, that we want a number, which I certainly think is the best way to go. We're asking, hey, because you clearly are defining a scope of services here. And I read through the scope of service, and it certainly seems, I'm not a facility planner, but it certainly seems succinct to me. So I think there's enough information here for them to bite off and actually be able to provide like a full proposal. So I would think if you just go through here and you change RFQ to state RF proposal and change this language here on the first page and say, hey, the purpose of this RFP is to obtain a proposal, or whatever that verbiage is, I think that we're good, as well as the other RFQ.
Yep, those are easy changes. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment that you stole my thunder again. I was going to ask for the difference between RFP and RFQ and why we chose RFQ, but thanks, Carl.
You're welcome, bud.
You did a lot of work as well. Sometimes I'm board chair. It's hard. I'm usually going last. So anyway, yes, Director Veach.
So just to be transparent, I texted Dr. Middleton ahead of this meeting. There are there's a few typos in there, but I didn't mention in that communication to him. There's a couple of different places where I think words are missing. I think those can be fixed as typos. I don't think that the words missing necessarily change any of the things that we're asking for, but certainly it's probably a copy paste error or a cut paste error or something like that, right? So you'd have to actually read it again, but I have it highlighted, Dr. Middleton, if you'd like to see it ahead of time. So when you're making the other changes, you can just, there's some places where words are put together, and then there's some places where there's just the sentence changes in the middle. So that's all.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Dr. M's point as well, that we don't need a motion to approve this wording. He just wants a consensus to move
Yeah.
forward in this process. So,
Yeah, I think we can move forward with the process, but before we release the document to the public, I think that we have just a little bit more polish to put on there. But other than that, the thing that we're asking for is clear.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good idea of what the plan is, what we're asking for. And now that we know the difference between the RFQ and the RFP, then I hopefully will come back with a qualified person and a bid or a ballpark. Thank you.
all right. So I feel like we have at least three of us consensus. Dr. Panegas, Dr. Green, anything to add for or against? Yeah, pretty
And
standard.
as Dr. M says, we are under no obligation. When we go through this whole process and we decide at the end it's too much, we don't want to do it, we are under no obligation to engage in a contract. So this is a risk zero scenario for us.
Yep.
Dr. Butler, I just got kicked off, but I'm back on, and maybe Director Veach, you and I can connect, and you can, I missed part of your statement. So
Yeah, I
can
don't think
call
any
you
of
and-
the missing words or terms are like substantive to the point that it would change the direction or anything or cause any misunderstanding, but
Okay.
they're just missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, you have consensus, by the way. So
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank
welcome back. You have
Welcome back.
consensus.
all right, item 6C, IMC recommendations for materials. Dr. M or perhaps Dr. Mans. I'll let you decide.
Before we jump in, I didn't see that in the board packet. Am I completely missing it?
I actually was going to mention that too. I mean, I scrolled past the, maybe I didn't get all the way to the bottom like I thought I did. I didn't see it. I'm looking.
Dr. Mans, you want to briefly explain it real quick for us while we're
Not there.
I would be glad to. My video is not working, just but I wanted to let you know that Director Kevin Davis, CTE director, is with us this evening, and these are all CTE adoptions. And so he was looking forward to just providing a brief overview.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it doesn't look like it made it into the packet.
Is this something that has to be done tonight, or can we get a chance to do it next meeting so we can get a better chance to review it? Maybe Dr. M can answer that.
I'll jump in on that. These are the material that we're asking for are textbooks that would be used in classes that are presently going on. So it would be nice if we got it tonight, but obviously if you need to have it next meeting, because we can't order the books until you guys approve it.
So I feel comfortable in speaking that I was in the meeting when we reviewed this with the staff members that were proposing the use of the textbooks. They are science textbooks, and I have not seen those textbooks, but I asked the questions, especially based on the concerns from our previous couple of meetings regarding the sex education curriculum, to ensure that, you know, any pictures, diagrams, etc., were appropriate, and that content, there was a science help book for the high school that does address like anatomy and physiology and that, but they spent some extra time in those chapters reviewing and felt comfortable that it was professional and age appropriate. So though I haven't seen the textbook myself, I asked the questions, and I feel comfortable telling the other directors that it was, you know, looked at by those that are going to teach it, and they feel comfortable that it meets all the standards. They filled out all the paperwork to indicate that it met all the standards, but maybe Dr. Mans or Mr. Davis have additional information.
I'm confused. Is this a sex ed curriculum adoption?
No,
It's
there's
a-
just one science book. I have
No, I think it's an anatomy and physiology.
It's our textbooks for biomed.
Mm, That's
called
right.
body
One was
structures and
veterinary.
functions.
Yeah, one was veterinary assisting and the other is
Yeah.
biomed or sports medicine, something like that.
We
So
have,
it had a chapter about anatomy and physiology in there, right?
yeah,
So I want,
there's a, I'm sorry, Director Veach, I didn't mean to interrupt. There is a chapter in the biomed book on reproduction. This is the same, biomed is synonymous with anatomy physiology that is taught at the high school level, and these are high school books. And that was the only one. The other textbooks that we're asking to be adopted is for our intro to business class, and the information for the veterinarian science and our other agricultural programs are supplemental materials to the main textbooks. So the two main textbooks are basically intro to business and the biomed textbook.
Do we have a copy of the recommendations from the IMC that we can show? I mean, I haven't seen anything. I guess I feel very uneasy approving something I haven't seen.
Dr. Mann? Dr. Mans?
I don't have a copy in front of me. I know they, Melanie, I know, are you able to show them on your screen? My assistant sent them up to Melanie, but my assistant's not on the call any longer to show those. I mean, we can certainly table those to.
Yeah, let's, I'd just like to make a motion. We table the IMC recommendations till the next meeting. It sounds like it can wait. So, I mean, that's my recommendation. That's the motion that I like to make.
Second.
So we have a motion.
can I have a discussion?
Please, of course. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask Mr. Davis and Dr. Mans the question, because this is the biomed textbook, does this mean for the next 2 weeks plus time of shipping that those students have no textbook?
We'll be using the textbooks that we had last year, which are the older textbooks. But yes, we won't purchase the textbooks or the material until the board approves it, and then it plus shipping time to get in. I talked to the company this week and they say between 7 and 10 days for those. And we have 2 hard copy textbooks that I provided Dr. Mann's office that anybody can look through, as well as the online information.
Okay, but the students have a book to use for the next 2 weeks until we can have an opportunity to review the recommendations of the staff. I just wanted to make sure we weren't leaving a teacher and an entire classroom with no materials. Okay, thank you.
And we are, just a suggestion, I mean, we are in a Zoom. I mean, as long as we advertise a meeting, we could have a meeting technically anytime. So, I mean, I'd be open to a special board meeting with one item on the agenda to approve these next week, if that's what we want to do. I mean, I'm open I'm open to whatever we need to do. I just want to, I mean, to do my job, I need to see it. And I feel bad voting for something I can't see.
All right. Well, let's, that's right. I'm gonna call the question. So we have a motion to table it in a second. So let's deal with that one first. All in favor of tabling it until our next meeting?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, board. Item 7, consent agenda. Melanie, I did not see any additions to the consent agenda. Is that correct? I heard her say correct from across the hall. So she said correct. All right, that being the case, then what's the word I want to use here, Carl? Passes
Due to no discussion, or
yeah.
It's a fancier word, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so now we're at closing. So it is now 8:03 p.m. I'm going to close our meeting. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
So are we going to